We're coming to you with breaking news under extraordinary circumstances. Developments in and around the Islamic Republic of Iran are unfolding rapidly. According to recent reports citing a senior Israeli official, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has been killed and his body has been located following Israeli-U.S. strikes. Let's make it absolutely clear and stress that this information has not been confirmed by Iranian authorities. Well, throughout the day, the whereabouts and security of the supreme leader have been a central focus of reporting. Earlier, there were claims that compounds associated with both Ayatollah Khamenei and President Masoud Pezeshkian had been targeted in Israeli-U.S. strikes. Subsequent reports suggested that supreme leader would address the nation, whilst Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later indicated that there were growing signs that Iran's supreme leader was no longer alive. Well, Tehran, for its part, has maintained that Israel is engaged in extensive warfare and psychological operations and has not confirmed these latest claims. This remains a developing story, of course, and absolutely central to the unfolding developments. We're working to verify the information through multiple sources. In the meantime, earlier we prepared a report regarding developments pertaining to the situation in and around the Islamic Republic of Iran. Let's watch it now.
The United States and Israel launch an attack on Iran as President Donald Trump confirms major combat operations are underway. Smoke rose over Tehran early Saturday after Israel said it carried out what it called a preemptive strike. Iran has already launched retaliatory strikes against Israel. A statement from the Israeli Defense Forces confirmed this. It said the Israeli Air Force is working to intercept and strike threats where necessary to remove them. Iran's state-affiliated Fars news agency reported that explosions were heard in the cities of Isfahan, Qom, Karaj and Kermanshah, as well as in Tehran. The Pentagon says US strikes on Iran are called Operation Epic Fury. President Trump confirmed the attack, saying Iran is rebuilding its nuclear program and developing missiles that could threaten the US and its allies.
For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also issued a statement. He said the joint action with the US would help give the Iranian people the chance to shape their own future. Netanyahu marked the operation is named the Roar of the Lion. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz announced a state of emergency across Israel and warned of possible further retaliation. This morning, Israel's army sent a nationwide alert to mobile phones. The message told people to identify their nearest safe space and to follow instructions from the military's home front command.
Use the coming time to get to know and prepare the optimal protected space near you. At this time, the local authorities are opening the public shelters for you. The forces are deployed, alert, and ready to provide an immediate response to ensure your safety. Follow the home front command's instructions, they save lives.
Israeli media reported that Israel has closed its airspace to civilian flights. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also confirmed that Iran has also closed its airspace.
Well, earlier, President Donald Trump urged Iranians to take over their government. And also he urged Iranian security apparatus members to lay down their arms. Events happening in and around Iran are of immense consequentiality. We have been following these developments throughout the day, but of course, naturally, the news related to the reported killing of Supreme Leader is one of absolutely massive consequentiality, not just for Iran, for the entire region. And joining us now is, from Washington, D.C., is Peter Roth, Newsweek contributor. Thank you very much, Mr. Roth, for joining us now. Well, it seems what is happening, of course, Iranian officials have not confirmed it yet, and for us, it remains within the realm in which actually we need further clarification. But what do you make of this news?
Well, the American press is reporting it as confirmed and the body has been found. They're also reporting that his designated successor, his son, was also present and has also been killed. I think this is a remarkable development, one that I did not, frankly, expect. It is true that while the politicians have been talking and negotiating, that Ayatollah Khamenei made all the key decisions, and his decisions were, we're not giving up anything, we're not giving up our nuclear enrichment, we're going for the bomb. Talk all you want, but we're full speed ahead. Having him removed, having his designated successor removed, sets off a competition for control inside the regime that will further destabilize their hold on the government and on the Iranian people.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. In the context of the Iranian system, what does it signify for the system of the Islamic Republic of Iran? There have been some reports coming from a wide range of sources suggesting that there are two personages who have been suggested as potential successors, and they both were hardline figures. There are two competing narratives please do.
One would expect them to be hardline figures. These people are not chosen in a democratic process. They were chosen by the Ayatollah Khamenei for their commitment to the Islamic Revolution, as defined by Ayatollah Khamenei and his predecessor, the Ayatollah Khamenei. These are not moderates. These are not soft people. The unknown here is whether or not the Iranian people will seize the opportunity to rise up and their country from these oppressive, dictatorial, theocratic murderers who have oppressed them since 1979.
Regarding the trajectory of this unfolding conflict, we know that Iranian security apparatus army have targeted U.S. assets across the region in Bahrain, in United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and other places of the Middle East where U.S. has got assets. What sort of reaction will follow? Because one particular school of thought suggested by many people that the killing of Supreme Leader could potentially cause massive backlash, and Iranians who actually know what to do, know which targets to actually focus on, will go beyond the scope, with implications being too hideous to contemplate. What sort of reaction is now expected from Iran after this reported killing news?
Well, my experience is that people who serve a maximum leader like the Ayatollah Khamenei are not very good at independent thinking. They're not very good at making judgment calls. They're not used to the responsibility of freedom. And in the leadership vacuum, it leads to paralysis, not to activity, not to a final burst of energy so that everyone goes down in flames. It leads to paralysis. You saw this time and again throughout the 20th century as dictators fell. It was followed by paralysis. No one knew what to do. You have to have an American system. You have to have a system based on the values of the Enlightenment period, the idea of popular sovereignty, where people feel they have ownership and can actually take action. And this is why this is the wild card. The Iranian people up to date very brave in their most recent demonstrations against the regime. And if they are now emboldened to go out into the streets and say, we want our country back, you are going to see permanent change, permanent positive change. You're going to see permanent change as a result of what's happened today anyway, but you're going to see permanent positive change in which we may have the opportunity to welcome Iran back into the family of nations that live as brothers in peace and prosperity amongst each other. Remember that Iran's response here, weak as it's been, has been to shoot missiles at its Arab neighbors. It's violated the sovereignty of Bahrain and Qatar and the Saudis. The Saudis have announced that they are standing with the Americans in this effort. You know, the bully has been crippled. The bully has been wounded. The bully has been taken down. And the question now becomes, what takes its place? This is why diplomats and professional negotiators fear things like regime change, because you don't know what you could end up with. Although it's hard to imagine in the case of Iran under Khamenei that anything that follows could be worse.
Thank you very much indeed. But one of the arguments presented was that, well, there are many massive, innumerable number of problems with the Islamic Republic of Iran, about its intentions, about the threat that it may pose to US allies in the Middle East. Still, we don't know what will happen afterwards, what kind of replacement will be after the Islamic Republic of Iran, and therefore one should exercise some care. But naturally, we're in the realm of a wide range of possibilities, and we don't know what will happen next. But to what extent do you think the regional actors here in the South Caucasus, Azerbaijan and others should be worried? Because basically, regarding the pre-1979 Iran, the Pahlavi Iran, it wasn't a shining example of democracy in many ways, but it was Western friendly. Do you think the collapse of the current system there will lead to a Western friendly system, or do you also see possibility for some sort of chaos and civil war? Because basically, one could only imagine, of course, there are different factions within the Iranian political landscape, and maintaining the coherence of a country may in itself be a challenge. What do you make of this entire debate, if I may ask you?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's fair and it's actually counterproductive to say that Iran before the Ayatollahs, before the Islamic Republic, wasn't exactly a democracy. It wasn't a democracy at all. It was a monarchy. Yep. It was an absolute monarchy run by the Shah. And while he was in many ways a progressive leader, particularly in the way that he elevated the status of women in Iranian society, there were some things that they did that were rather brutal. Now, the people that they were rather brutal to are the people that ultimately took over the country, and they were even more brutal than the Shah had been. That's an established fact. What's coming next? That's really up to the Iranian people to decide. I could write a plan that maybe could work, maybe could not work, that they could like, that they could not like, but it's not my decision. It's their decision. I suspect, though, that you will see some kind of interim government step into place. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Army or the Air Force take over and promise everyone elections. And there will, of course, be the conversation about whether or not the Crown Prince is allowed to come back into the country, and if he is allowed to take a position as head of state to preside over the transition period to an elected government that embraces popular sovereignty. I don't think you're going to see a restoration of the peacock throne. What I do think, though, is in the short term, Iran will no longer be a threat to its neighbors. It won't be a threat to its neighbors to the south, it won't be a threat to its neighbors to the west, and it won't be a threat to its neighbors to the east. It will have its own problems to deal with. And whatever arises will require the support of both the Arab states and the United States to make sure that the Russians and the Chinese stay out.
Thank you, Mr. Orf. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you very much indeed for providing you with your analysis. So
Thank
grateful
you.
to you. Thank you. Well, we continue to follow the developments taking place inside Iran and outside Iran. And I'm joining us now is Mohammed Noral Daim, a cybersecurity student currently based in Doha. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. What is the latest situation there in Doha? I mean, we know that Iran is retaliating. They have vowed to retaliate, and they've effectively carried out this pledge. And Doha is one of those places which is under attack. What is the latest situation there, in particular in terms of security parameters, of course?
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. I'd say about maybe 5 minutes ago, we did hear a few explosions, mostly, or I would say all of them were intercepted,
yeah,
which is right above the airspace where I live actually, here in Wakra, which is like 30 kilometers away from Doha, I would say.
So you're not in Doha itself,
the situation
it's slightly far
yeah.
away from Doha. Sorry, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And the situation is very, I would say it's very under control. You don't really see people in the streets. Everyone is indoors. Everyone is very, I guess, well prepared in a sense to the chaos that I guess is going on right now. We did, I guess, have a few strikes earlier today in the morning, I'd say around 1 p.m. and they have been ongoing until now. We've had a few emergency alerts as well, as you guys maybe know.
Sure.
And none of the targets have hit any civilian areas, which is, I feel like one of the driving factors of why people aren't really worried here about their safety, as much as they're more concerned about how they would get to their jobs in the morning, for instance, which we have all been informed, me as university students, we've been informed that all of our studies will be carried out online, and public sectors and ministries will also be working online tomorrow. And as well as the banks, all of the banks will be closing until further notice. We have also been informed that the airport will open tomorrow at around 7 p.m., I believe, yeah.
Thank you, Mohammed. So grateful to you for explaining to us what is happening there and what's the latest security situation. But it's not the first time that Qatar is being attacked by Iran as part of this wider Israel-U.S. Iran confrontation. And during the 12-day war, something similar happened, and there was even fury amongst the locals there that Qatar is doing its level best to mediate between different parties, between Israel and Hamas, and now sort of Israel is sort of taking this sort of actions. But back to the point, what is the current expectation? As you have said already, Iranians targeted military installations, civilian districts have not been affected, and there's no casualty. But what is the general sense there regarding the situation? Because we know that in United Arab Emirates, that area, the residential district was attacked, or at least collateral damage was detected there. Is there any concern in Doha and the places surrounding Doha that next retaliatory measure by Iran, and after the reported killing of Supreme Leader of Iran, one would naturally assume there will be retaliatory measures against US assets, and Qatar is a legitimate target from the Iranian perspective. Is there any concern that Iranians, infuriated by this news, could actually go beyond the accepted norms?
Well, I would firstly like to say, ignoring the fact that it's not really confirmed whether the Supreme Leader, if you want
we
to
saw
call
the
it that,
reported
Iran
killing,
has
of course. It's not confirmed yet.
Of course,
Israelis reported, Iranians have not confirmed. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being so clear about that.
And whether we're worried as civilians for our safety, I'd say maybe less than you would see elsewhere, because the Udeid base, as well as other, or most of the military entities, are further away from civilian populated areas, so you wouldn't really, it's not too directly in like proximity between us and the actual attacks themselves. So I don't feel like people here are, I wouldn't say taking it as seriously. They're not as worried for their safety as much as they're worried about other factors like we spoke about earlier.
Yes.
So me personally, the way I see, obviously I'm not a political analyst at any capacity, but I do think that whether it takes a few days or I guess ends within the next 24 hours, I don't really see a great danger for civilians. And I don't really expect any civilian casualties. That's me personally, as we've seen before and how it was carried out, like you mentioned, last September with the Israel attacks, or much before that with the Iranian-U.S. conflict, like you mentioned. We didn't really see any civilian casualties, and any damage was mostly done to not residential areas, but instead like just military points and stuff like that. So we're not really too worried. And that's me, and I guess the people around me, my family, my neighbors, my friends. No one is really too worried about it, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Mohammed Noor, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I wish you all the best. Stay safe, and good luck with your studies. I mean, cybersecurity is a very important area, and not too irrelevant to what we're discussing in terms of security attacks, interception,
of course,
and so forth. All the best. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching us. Stay tuned to A News. As we said already, Israeli official reported about this particular news regarding the reported killing of Iran's supreme leader, but it has not been confirmed by Iranian officials. Therefore, of course, further checks and further updates will be required. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and see you soon.